when you sort of like think implementing some of these things, right? And you evaluate solutions, you speak to providers, whether it's more up and coming startups or say some of the large incumbents who are now rolling out more software oriented AI solutions for you. What are you looking for from these solutions? What excites you about a solution which you're like, hey, I want to take this to pilot right now. Let's start figuring out. Let me connect you with my technology or operations team to take this ahead. Versus saying, acha, theek hai, send me a proposal and we'll get back to you, right? I'm sure there's a spectrum where even you as a buyer or an implementer of technology within the leadership have your own aha moments. So if you could give us some of those top 2, 3 things that really excite you about a solution that makes you want to go ahead with solution X instead of solution Y, I think that's something folks in our audience who are, say, working in InsurTech or insurance AI would deeply appreciate from your side.
So I think proposal stages are already off. Today, if someone comes and tells us that they have the solution, right? I would rather, and at least what we do is we kind of say them, okay, let's talk through this. Let me tell you where am I, what's my gaps, and let me watch a solution fit in or not. Because that's where we start evaluating options. So the first step is to connect with various stakeholders to see whether the solution that the gentleman or the firm is bringing in makes sense for us and whether it is implementable or not. So the that evaluation is the first step rather than saying, you know what, send it. It does give us a lot. For example, all these limited touch points that I spoke about, right? There are many more, but I spoke about some 3, 4 of them during our conversation now. Someone coming with those solutions, we would definitely evaluate, right? But again, there are two things that happens there. One is each of those solutions are siloed, right? So people will tell you, okay, I'm going to help you in the pre-underwriting space, right? I may be able to kind of really simplify that entire thing, help you pull up much more analytics and data about the customer. But then I've got to plug in that via an API in at that stage of the onboarding. But someone else may come up with a SPR sort of for me, right? Someone else may come up with a contactless contact center. Someone else may come up with a CRM automation. What we are realizing is while all that is great and everybody's been doing that for last 5 years now, 5 years now, yeah, absolutely. But then there's still individual partners. So what has happened is, you ever been to Delhi 6, Chandni Chowk, Rohit? Ever
Yeah,
been to
yeah,
that
sure,
place? Yeah.
sure.
So amazing food, amazing experience. But one thing that'll strike you in some of those katras, as they call them, is that you'll see overhead, you'll see those electricity cables, right, meshing into each other and creating this amazing grid, which looks superbly unorganized yet organized, right? That's the IT digital infrastructure in an existing insurance company today. You've got a policy admin system, you've got a middleware, and you've got a frontware where you're using it, you're connecting all the three. Now, the policy admin system is a simple, a state of not. I won't. It's an archaic system which is there, but people are now building into that situation to kind of make it more SaaS, make it more AI. So for an older insurance company that has been in the business, they already have a frontware, they already have a middleware, they already have a pass, right? Now, all of those solutions are plugins that are happening on either of those three or all of those three. Generally, the pass is not touched. You generally are doing it in the middleware and the frontware. But then imagine it's like a modular rocket, which is now a little bit messy, and then you've got pods coming in at every stage. There's no single orchestration happening,
Right.
which is not a challenge for all the new licenses in the life insurance or the health insurance space. Those companies can create everything on AI from scratch, right from the policy admin system. And policy admin system is important because you've got to take the customer for the 20, 30 years. You and I may not exist in the firm, but the customer is going to stay longer than me in the firm. And I have to service that customer. So there is an in-depth need for that policy admin system to work, right? But so that's the challenge today. And that's the opportunity too.
Understood. And maybe just to double click within this, Karthik, are there, say, parts of the technology stack that at least today you're seeing people are staying away from, right? For example, outside of, say, insurance, in other industries like manufacturing, trade, we're also seeing that the core ERP system itself, right, which used to be, say, a more legacy system operating off of any of the large incumbents, whether international or local. And you would have the traditional complaints from people that, hey, they're not customizable, they're not queryable, data sits in very, very standard static fields. You want to add even a custom view that's like a 2-month implementation and like $500,000 that you pay your very expensive ERP or CRM provider to do for you. But at least in the mid-market segment in US, etc., we've been seeing that people are starting to rewrite and build ERP systems from scratch, which are more AI native, right? That they store data in more unstructured forms and they represent what you need when you need it, right? Rather than have it in a standard field. You can directly run, say, if it's for an FMCG company, you can directly run, say, forecasting, inventory optimization, truck scheduling within the ERP itself, right? In a much more simplistic sort of natural language sort of manner. Just trying to understand, do you think that something like the policy admin system in insurance is ready to move from its current static nature to something that's more AI native or queryable? Or do you think, at least in the immediate future, it's some of these more point solutions and then expanding from there into an orchestration layer, either starting with customer support and expanding, or starting with pre-underwriting and expanding, or supporting with customer acquisition and SPR and expanding? What do you think that approach is going to sort of look like, at least from the vantage point you have in the Indian ecosystem?
So policy admin system ready for a revamp? If I were to put it as simply, absolutely yes. It's about the for an existing insurer, it's about the size of that change, given the number of customers or the vintage of the existing of the firm that would kind of make or break that decision. That transformation from an existing pass to, let's say, a pass which is built from the scratch like an ERP, the example that you mentioned, is the call, right? So, for example, some of the larger insurers have done that. We have done that. So we have two different passes, one for our individual life customers, which are individually approach customers, and one is group customers, right? Where I would reach out to your organization and onboard you as one single group. I would reach out to a lender. All his borrowers come under one group. On the group system, we've already migrating from a traditional pass to a SaaS-based pass, right? Uh, on the verge of probably launching that. But the transition is painful depending upon the number of data, the amount of data that is there, and the number of years that you've kind of maintained that data. That transition is a little painful, but it's the call that one needs to take as to when you want to do that, right? Even if you don't do that, let us say you continue with the traditional pass and you have a middleware. Most of the pass systems have you can start your orchestration from the middleware itself.
I
Why?
see.
Because you put most of the decision engines that are required to run, let's say, right from onboarding to to underwriting to customer service touch points. Most of it are built, those rules and those entire workflows are built in the middleware. So that itself could be orchestrated. So one could keep looking at least looking at building the middleware down to the front end systems to be much more grounds up and orchestrated via AI while keeping the past there. That also could
I
be an
see.
approach. So there are multi approaches that one could kind of follow.
Got it. And just maybe the last question, for this session, how should companies think about when they're trying to implement, when they're trying to sell to you, right? I think in as we've seen even traditionally with complex like IT or technology transformations, and we're also seeing it with AI, especially in large industries and regulated industries, implementations can be difficult. The sales cycle can be very long, and arriving at that joint sort of aha moment for both the vendor or the technology partner and the buyer or the firm can be challenging, right? So, any top sort of high level thoughts that you have on what people who want to sell solutions to you can do to make your life easier, to make it easier to implement? What are some of the nuances and complexities they should keep in mind when they think about a technology implementation at an insurance company?
So most of them come without knowledge about the current tech infrastructure that insurance companies run. Most of the insurance companies run on a couple of pass models, a couple of middleware models. I think a depth understanding that they could kind of gain upfront about it. Because once you're coming in, you're saying, okay, I have a solution, I can integrate via APIs, and it's simple. While I get into implementation, I'll understand your system. that makes the implementation long tail. That makes the entire thing kind of drop off the point. Can you, with 24 or even 50 insurance companies in India, including Health General and all of that, you still can figure out, okay, these are the systems that they operate with. I know how to work with, let's say, a Life Assure, an Integral Life. I know how to work with a Cosmos. I know how to work with XYZ, because these are the systems that these guys have been. And I come up with solutions to upcoming problems that one would face while I'm doing the integration upfront. And I say, you know
I
what,
see.
I'm going to fix this. Most of the time what happens is, a startup which is extremely energetic, promising solution, they come and they learn with us, we learn with them, we help them build their solutions. It has happened with us. We've had a front end, we've just launched our new onboarding journey, and it was a startup whom we helped. They helped us understand how can we make it more modular. They learned from us and they kind of build their entire the new product now, right? Because they learned that the old product had these tweaks, and now as they were
I
building
see.
with us, it's good for them, it's good for us, but obviously the timeline that it took is around 1.5 years now, right? So a better understanding, and then would be better come up with solutions that you know that the problems that you're going to come face, given the legacy systems that one has.
Got it. Got it. Understood. No, thanks a lot for taking the time and doing this incredible session with us. I think it was an absolute masterclass on both operation on both insurance and how you sort of think about operations from a very technology and customer centric way. Thank you once again for taking out your precious time on a Sunday morning. And it was an absolute pleasure to have you with us, Karthik.
Likewise, Rohit and Sugata. Lovely talking to you guys. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.